We have here a present that I received. You see my present. Now, it was a surprise. I wasn't expecting it. Don't know what it is, so that's another surprise, right? But I know from the person who gave this to me that it'll probably be a very good surprise. Our gospel that we just heard has some surprises for us. It tells us about what's important for God and what God asks of us. Now we remember the story. Two men went up to the temple to pray. One was a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. Now the Pharisees were a group of people who took great pride in keeping the Jewish religious law right even to the last detail. They were proud of themselves for that. Now, tax collecting was regarded as an unclean profession. So the tax collector knew because of that he was a sinner. Well, the surprise comes when Jesus tells the people that it's the prayer of the tax collector, not the Pharisee, that was pleasing to God. Now, the people that heard Jesus say that, they would truly be surprised at that. They would, right to the last person, they would say, no, it's the Pharisee's prayer, not the prayer of the sinner. But the story is about the mercy of God. Very simply, the tax collector knew he was a sinner, but he still asked for God's mercy. It's his attitude that pleased Jesus. It's all on how we approach God. The lesson of the whole story is that, well, we're all sinners, but we have a merciful God. We're all sinners, but we all have a merciful God. Our story is really a story with a surprise and some good news. A good surprise. Somewhat like my present. Remember the idea of the present, huh? A surprise, but a good surprise. And that's the story. The surprise is that God forgives everyone. God forgives even those that we don't think God would forgive. God forgives even those that we don't think God would forgive that. And of course, the good news is that God forgives every one of us. God forgives everyone. Nobody is left out. None of us are left out of God's love and God's forgiveness. And that's important good news. Now, a short while ago, I was listening to the father of a teenage boy who was murdered on one of our city streets. And the father was talking to all of us that were there, but he was especially talking to the young man's friends, all the teens that had gathered around there. And he said, look, violence is not the only way to settle things. Change is possible. And then he pointed to his own life. He said, look, I can't change the bad decisions that I have made in my life. I can't change those. But I have decided to change myself. Now, he might not have been thinking this way, but it seems to me he's a little like the tax collector in the story. He knows he's a sinner, but he asks for God's mercy and the power to change. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to forgive ourselves and to truly believe that God forgives us. Sometimes that can be a hard thing to do. Maybe an example will help. Pete is a man about 35 years old. And a while back he was telling me, he said, look, it seems though for as long as I remember, I've been struggling to give up using drugs. As long as I can remember. I go for a while, and everything's okay, and then I fall again. Well, but when he's clean, he's at Mass every Sunday. And even when he's in jail, because of his drug use, he's there at Mass. In a way, again, Pete's the lesson. He might have lost everything else in life, but he hasn't lost the faith in God, the faith that says that we have a God that does forgive us over and over again. No one is left out. So as we prepare to end today, let's just go a little longer and take a look at our own lives, just to make sure, do we really believe that God forgives us? Do we truly believe that? So let's take a minute, okay, to take a look at our own lives and take a look at one thing for which we're truly sorry. One thing in our lives for which we are truly sorry. Now, it could be something that we did a long time ago or just recently, or maybe it's something that we didn't do when we had the chance to do it. So, let's take a look. Let's just take 1 minute and see how well we do, okay? Everybody ready? Let's go. Well, it isn't quite a minute. Let's go on and ask ourselves 2 questions, okay? Ask ourselves 2 questions. First, if God were sitting right next to us in the pew tonight, okay, God were next to us, what do you think God's words would be to us if we told God what we're sorry about? Told God what we were thinking. What do you think God would say to us? Second thing, We have to take a look at ourselves and ask again, do we truly believe that God forgives us? Now, this can be a hard thing to do. It's hard to believe sometimes in the forgiveness of God. So as we continue now and we prepare to share in the body and the blood of Christ, let's ask our God for the help and the strength we need to truly believe that God forgives us and everybody else.